I was reading through a couple of articles about China, Trump, and it kind of led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and one that I kind of want to get into. We're going to call this How Abrams Got Her Cope Cage. Be sure to like and subscribe. This is an M1 Abrams tank. This is the first time we've seen an M1 Abrams with a cope cage. This is obviously out of the Ukraine war. This is one of the Abrams that we gave to Ukraine to fight against the Russians. And this article kind of goes into why you're seeing it with this cope cage. Cope cage has been laughed at for a long time. They are absolutely integral to the modern battlefield. Ukraine's U.S.-supplied M1A1 Abrams tanks are getting new production standard anti-drone armor screens, almost commonly known as cope cages, on their turrets. Pictures of the modified Abrams show it has also received explosive armor, reactive armor modifications that have been appearing elsewhere in the field. This comes roughly after a month after U.S. officials reportedly said Ukrainian forces had pulled the M1A1s from front lines, particularly due to the concerns about the vulnerability to first-person kamikaze drones and other uncrewed aerial threats. The extent to which Ukraine's Abrams tanks have returned to service since then is unclear, but they may well be back in action. This goes into specifically the reactive armor they put on here. And we'll show a couple of pictures as we scroll through. I'm not going to go through the article word for word. There's that. This is on the rear, showing it on its engine compartment. On the side by the smoke dischargers. And on the top. There is one problem with this cope cage that I see, is that the umbrella top where you see these legs here, just to the upper left in this picture, these drones usually float above and drop a grenade right in the hatch. I've seen it in 100 videos. That's wide open unless there's a cage above it, which there isn't. So there is already one vulnerability cited. Here we see the reactive armor. Here's one with reactive armor going into battle. This is prior to the cope cage. A destroyed M1, no cage, no house welded on top, no protection essentially. You hate to see this. I hope the crew got out. Multiple other images. This one I'm just going to show because this is what happens when you have an unprotected vehicle. Let's mute that. This is what happens when you have an unprotected vehicle. An FPV drone hits a thermobaric MLRS, causing a massive explosion. And yes, it was. And this is just numerous other shots. This is one of the turtle tanks, heavily covered with improvised armor by the people in the field. This is their enemy. This is the enemy, not of just Russia or Ukraine, of anyone in the field today, essentially. A cheap $500 FPV drone with an artillery shell or an RPG attached. That's it. That's why hundreds of millions of dollars are going to be spent on this stuff. Hundreds of millions. And don't doubt that it will be hundreds of millions. This is the video of the Abrams getting hit by multiple FPV drones. That's why Abrams got her Cope cage. And this is the article that started it. China upgrades military tactics for drone warfare. As you can clearly see here, those Chinese tanks have Cope cages. They are fighting in entrenchments. This could be out of Ukraine. Somebody is learning lessons from Ukraine. I certainly hope we are too. But in this, clear picture, entrenchments. Infantry fighting along armored vehicles, tanks. You can see an infantry fighting vehicle up at the top, all of which have the Cope cage. Here you see an infantry fighting vehicle with the Cope cage already having launched its smokes discharger. A mine clearing vehicle with a Cope cage. And here, this picture I really like because you can see the mine clearing vehicle with the Cope cage clearing the obstacles around the entrenchments and hard points. But if you look at the bottom right hand side, you see drones discharging smoke. You train as you fight. You train as you fight. Is the United States doing anything like this? That's the point of this video. Is the United States doing anything like this? This is a combined arms brigade of the People's Liberation Army conducting a fortified assault drill under the 81st Army Group. You can see Type 99 tanks and Type 04A infantry fighting vehicles with specialized engineering vehicles clearing obstacles, UAVs laying offensive smoke curtains, further demonstrating the integration of unmanned systems into traditional military tactics. And I would assume that there would also be FPV drones flying overhead, attacking enemy entrenchments and enemy positions. It's my hope the United States is paying attention and is training like you see these guys training. Lessons have been learned. Lessons have been learned from Ukraine. It's my hope that the United States is paying attention because those lessons have been hard fought and bloody. This is a picture of a British supplied Challenger 2 Ukrainian service equipped with an anti-drone cage. Russian T-80 sporting a massive Cope cage as well as add-on armor. This drone net stopped a Russian kamikaze drone from attacking this Ukrainian position. Isn't that incredible? And it's not like we're the only ones who need to be paying attention to this. The Israelis have been paying attention to this. These are Israeli Merkava tanks. These are Israeli Merkava tanks seen with new anti-magnet bomb stripping. Because they've had to encounter the H words coming up with mines and sticking them to the side of their vehicles, the same way the Russians did to the Germans in World War II when they plastered their vehicles with all that stuff that people said was completely useless. Well, they don't think it's completely useless. This article that I'm citing here with these Israeli tanks is about this. Israeli Merkava tanks get improved anti-drone and magnet defenses. This is from last year. Merkava tanks are emerging with improved anti-drone armor screens on top of their turrets and hulls covered in strips to prevent improvised bombs with magnets from sticking to them. The new defensive features have transformed the outward look of these tanks and directly reflect the diverse array of threats their crews have been facing in the ongoing conflict in Gaza. And this goes through those threats in Gaza that they faced. This goes through some of the threats that armored vehicles in general have had to start to face. And the general changing face of warfare in the face of loitering munitions, AI munitions, and first and foremost, the FPV drone. The FPV drone has changed the battlefield. Drone warfare has changed the battlefield. Like I've stated numerous times, we are in a combination of World War I and cyberpunk. It's this dystopian, horrible, hand-to-hand and continent-to-continent kind of warfare. Train as you fight. Train as you fight. I sure hope the United States military is paying attention. I would love to see training footage of United States personnel doing something very similar to this, with vehicles very much outfitted this way, in tactics that reflect 2025 and future. I'm worried the United States is fighting the last Gulf War or World War II. If that's the case, it isn't going to go well. But I appreciate you swinging in here and listening to me. You have a great day today. Thank you.